All right, so I was going to talk about this not now. I was going to wait until somebody was actually in handcuffs before I talked about this, but actually, I got to give my 2 cents on it now. I think that the Trump administration releasing all this information about Russiagate, about Obama and Clapper and Brennan and the Comey and the whole thing, we all know about it. Everybody that's online knows about it for sure. It's the smoking gun that Obama and them were guilty of trying to stage a coup on the American president elected by the American people. And I think that Trump releasing this stuff, or not Trump himself, but, Tulsi Gabbard, the administration, it's all Trump administration, right? I think them releasing this was the dumbest shit they could have done. And here's why. Not because I don't want to see these people prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law possible, right? But they should have waited until they actually had somebody in cuffs, had the mugshot going. I mean, the Democrats would have done that right away, right? They're ruthless, evil, diabolical motherfuckers. And sometimes I really do wish we had some more diabolical fuckers on our side, because they would have done right away action, right away. They wouldn't care. But Trump shouldn't have done this after the Epstein debacle, right? Which we're not going to get any information on. Anything that might come out now after this shit is going to be basically smoke and mirror shit. It's not going to give us anything to new. The only thing we can hope for is if one of the girls comes out, or Ghislaine Maxwell speaks and has evidence to back up her claims, right? That would be amazing, and that would maybe give us new information. But from the Trump administration, they're not going to just come out and admit that they were lying to us about every shit. They're not going to do that. So whatever they release is likely not going to tell us jack shit. Okay? But then to release this shit, which is not like Epstein. And Epstein, we all have our suspicions, right? And there's definitely evidence and proof that something is up. But it's kind of like 9/11. We know something. We know they were lying. We know they're lying about something. We think we know the couple of the things they're lying about, but we can't really prove it. Epstein, same thing. We know there's a bunch of there, right? A bunch of there, but we can't prove it. And so that gives them the plausible deniability to be able to say, well, the documents were stolen by the Democrats, or whatever the fuck excuse they're going to come up with in the end, so that we don't get any information on that. We'll find out, right? But then to release this shit, probably to try to take smoke or take fire away from, the Epstein debacle. Then they release actual smoking gun evidence against Obama and Brennan and them, right? And now they've basically painted themselves into a corner. Because if no prosecutions and no actual, real impactful consequences come from this, Trump just ruined his own presidency. He ruined his legacy. The administration's legacy is over. And boy, oh boy, when Trump's term is over, everybody that worked for him, helped him, was a lawyer for him, was in the cabinet, was in the administration, better move to a non-extraditable country, because the Democrats don't give a fuck. They're going to come after everybody. Because I say it over and over and over again. Evil people like the Democrats, right? Evil motherfuckers like the Democrats. Yeah. Diabolical fuckers like the Democrats. They need to feel consequences, or they will not stop. They are going to continue. They're going to continue, right? And we all know they're going to continue. And yet, we still have not seen any consequences for anybody yet. And so, God, I mean, why would they do this? I've said over and over again, they should wait with their talking until they've got the mugshot to back up their claims, right? Because I don't see Obama going to prison. I don't see Brennan going to prison. Even James Comey, I don't think so. They might have to find some scapegoat, but that's not going to be enough, right? After this, everybody in America who knows about this and who has seen these documents and who has listened to Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration and all the podcasters and all the things, they're going to want it. Every one of these people's heads going to have to be on a pike. Every one of them, including Obama. Because if they're not, it's going to be over for trust in government in general. It doesn't matter who's there, because that's going to prove it. It's going to prove it that the deep state, the intelligence agencies, the administrative state, the bureaucracy, they run America, right? And yes, they do evil, corrupt shit. Yes, they spend your money on things that you would never want them to spend it on if you were asked. They're going to continue to do it, and you're going to shut the fuck up. And voting doesn't really matter. You might as well just let us put in whoever we feel like, because as you see, voting doesn't matter. Because no matter who you vote for, the underlying powers of the government in America are never going to be taken out. They run things, and what they're gonna say is, look, guys, look, this is the price of freedom. I know it's ugly. It's the "you can't handle the truth" thing from the movie, right? Of A Few Good Men, right? Well, Jack Nicholson is sitting there. You can't handle the truth. Well, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna go, people, if you don't like America the way it's run, the way we run it, find a better country. And they'll have a point. It's going to be hard to find a better country. So in the end, if there are no consequences to this seditious conspiracy, coup attempt, treasonous attempt, whatever you want to call it, by Obama and the crowd, right? If there are no consequences for this, then that is the 100% proof that there are higher powers than the people you elect that actually call the shots in America. And you as an American will have two choices. You can find a big enough group to take up arms and try to overthrow this deep state government. Or you can go, well, you know, they do keep us safe. Our life is pretty good. So we'll have to look the other way. That's going to be it. Now, I really hope I'm wrong. But I think that I'm right. You know, that Epstein thing basically proved it. If you can't even fucking put some people in prison for, you know, the shit that Epstein has supposedly done, I'm thinking, why would you come out and fucking accuse Obama and say, oh, there have to be consequences for this, and it's treason. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard said it's treason. You know what I'm saying? On TV and on the news to a reporter. I mean, that's a big fucking deal, right? That's a big fucking deal. And it's such a big deal that if there are no consequences for it, America as you think it is not what it is, right? It is not. It is then a corrupt, administratively state-run, deep state organization that has the facade, the mask of democracy or democratic republic or whatever you want to call it, but it's really then not. Right? And then you as American citizens who live there will be faced with a choice. Do you just go, okay, my life is good, I'll look the other way, I'll take the scraps they give us once in a while, maybe a tax break here and there, and, you know, or are you gonna, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Because they're apparently all powerful, right? They're apparently in a position that they can get away with anything they want and nobody can do anything about it for whatever the reasons. So unless Americans are then willing to fight an actual revolution against these deep state, that's where you're at. And I don't want to hear any more shit about democracy and we are a government for the people, by the people, and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear any more of that shit. You know what I mean? Because that's just not true. It's just not the case. Right? And I think that's where this is going. I think in the end, they're not going to prosecute Obama. You know what I'm saying? I won't say I'll eat my hat because it's going to be difficult. You know what I mean? Real difficult. I won't say that, but I'll figuratively eat my hat. And I'll be the first to say I was wrong and too cynical. And wow, Trump and the administration really are on the right side of history here. They really can. You really can do something against this deep state apparatus if you have the right people in place and the political will to do it. I hope that's what I'll be saying in a couple of months. But I don't think so. And I think that the Trump administration just made the biggest fucking mistake that they have made besides Epstein. Epstein was big. This one is bigger. And the reason for it is because I just don't think they're going to be able to follow through, right? Because there's a lot of things that are going to come up, right? Obama was president. He has immunity, right? Trump had immunity. He's going to have immunity. I don't know how they're going to fucking prosecute Obama. He has immunity. Maybe not for this. I don't know. If it's treason, maybe there's no immunity. I don't know. I don't know how it works. But they're going to come up with everything, right? They're going to come up with everything. They're already out there making excuses. Well, they don't seem especially worried, though. You know, that makes me, well, you know, that's another question I've got. Why would, you know, if you're a smart criminal, you don't take notes of all your crimes and write them down and keep them in a file somewhere that if somebody does get to them, they'll see everything you did. Smart criminals don't do that because they're still humble enough to know that no matter how smart they are, they could still be caught. And they're not going to make it easier on their captor by notating and all the crimes that they've committed. All right? They're just not going to do it. So why would these people do this? Why would they keep logs and records and written notes and dossiers and files about all of their crimes? Well, the reason why is because they know that nothing is ever going to happen to them, right? They know that. At least they think they know that. And thus far, they've been right. That's why they've become so brazen about it. Because nothing does ever happen to them. They get away with regime changes and secret operations and murdering people and fucking whatever. All kinds of crazy. Starting wars without congressional approval. You know, bombing people without congressional approval. It's crazy. And they've gotten away with it forever. Because they feel like Jack Nicholson felt like in that movie. Right? They feel like, look, you stupid fuckers, we keep you dumbasses safe so you can graze around here, watch Netflix, get fat as fuck eating all this junk food shit, you know, roll around in Walmart on one of these fucking fat people carts, and that's because of us. That's how they think. And so that's why they notate everything, is because they know they're never going to get caught. So they're laughing right now because they're thinking, yeah, right, we're going to go to jail. Okay. I guess you haven't been paying attention, Trump. Okay? So they're laughing. Now, I would like to see them crying in handcuffs. I really would. But I don't think that's going to happen. And goddamn, if it doesn't, that's not only the end of Trump, but it's the end of this facade that America has been able to portray itself as for the last 250 years. Now, I'm sure America was the America that everybody wants to believe it is now at some point in the past. I'm sure it was. But the wrong people have been put into power and have executed their power and misused their power to turn America into a corrupt cesspool that is run by secretive, clandestine intelligence agencies who call the shots on everything. Right? So that's why I think that this was a giant mistake on Trump's part. Or I won't say Trump, but the administration. This was, of course, it deflects a little bit from the Epstein shit, of course. But if it turns out that this is the next failure after Epstein, that nobody ends up going to prison because of 10,000 different excuses, statute of limitations, or fucking presidential immunity, or you name it, these people are gonna come up with everything. And then there's the hurdle of, well, if they, let's say they do get prosecuted and charged, are they going to be tried in D.C. courts? Well, then that's the next hurdle. Is there a way to get them out of that venue and put them somewhere else? I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know. But I think that Trump administration, in order to try to cover their ass about Epstein, have now bitten off way more than they can chew. And unless they are really willing to go to the fucking mat on this, right, then it's going to be big trouble on the horizon. And it's going to be the saddest day that America has ever seen, because everybody in America is going to wake up to the reality that America is not what everybody's being told it is. Right? Voting won't matter. It doesn't matter. If Trump cannot make moves against these people, nobody can and nobody will. And so therefore, voting doesn't matter anymore then. Then you are in a position where armed conflict will be the only way to get rid of these people. And then you also have to consider, do you want to get rid of them? You know what I'm saying? What comes after them? But I don't think it's going to get to that point, because we are not the same ilk of people as the people were during the revolution long ago. That was a completely different ilk of people that didn't have such good lives as we have now, that actually had to fight for their lives and even a little bit of freedom from the crown. You know what I mean? And boy, I don't think we have those kind of people today. So what I think is going to happen is it'll turn out that people are just going to have to resign themselves to the fact that the lie they've been sold about America is a lie, but still a pretty awesome place to live. But the only reason it is because the deep state does evil, corrupt, fucked up things in order to keep the people in America safe from harm and living free and luxuriously. That's what they're going to come up with, people. And how are you going to dispute it? So, wow. I can't say it enough. I do not want Trump to fail. I do not want the administration to fail. I really hope that they're going to be able to do something good for America. I mean, right now the policies are awesome. Policies are great. But those policies will all be reversed if Democrats ever get into power again. You know? And if there are no consequences for the deep state, for the Democrats, that were all involved in all these things, right? COVID, Russiagate, the 9/11 lies, you name it. You know what I'm saying? You name it. There's all kinds of shit. Election interference, election meddling, whatever, you name it. There's so many things that people have to be held to account for, right? And if we don't start seeing that trend happening during Trump's presidency, it is over. It's over. Then everybody, all the political commentators can put their jobs away. It's over. There's no point in then continuing to talk about democracy and pointing out hypocrisy and, pointing out the bad things they do. If there's never going to be consequences or rectification of the problems, there's really no point in continuing to talk about it. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe that's what, here's a crazy conspiracy theory, right? I just thought of this just now, okay? But roll with me on it for just a second. It's an insane conspiracy theory, and I God hope it's not true. But maybe they put Trump in to be this beacon of hope for the American people, because they realize that American people are starting to see the cracks in the facade here, right? And that the idea of this democratic moral state that does all good things and righteousness and freedom and spreads democracy throughout the world and nation building and blah, blah, blah. The people are starting to see it's bullshit. And so they're like, how the fuck? This would be real 4D chess, yo. So they're like, all right, let's put Trump in to get the American people believing in someone again, to believe in somebody that really, that he can do it, right? And then for him to also fail, to then come out to the American people and say, guys, this is just how we roll. And if you want to live here, you're gonna have to live under that regime. I'm sorry, because it's a pretty good place. And they're, like I said before, they're right about that. So let's say they put Trump in there just to prove to the people that no matter what, you're never getting rid of these deep state powers, right? And so that the people then go, all right, well, better than living in North Korea. Because that's what they got the German people at. Where I live here in Germany, it's starting to change a little bit. It looks like it's starting to change a little bit, but the German people, the politicians always say, well, it's better than here, it's better than there. They measure their success by being better than like South Sudan. So what they're basically saying is, guys, you shouldn't complain so much because it could be worse. It could be like South Sudan or Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria or something. Yeah, it could be. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe Trump is just the messenger for the people to say, look, even I can't do it. So you're going to have to start mentally preparing yourself for the fact that The only reason you people have it so good and easy is because of the way we run things in America. And it's not what you thought. We get that. We're sorry. It's not really a democratic republic. Voting doesn't really matter. We run the show. That's the end. And then what are you going to do? You know? That would be mega 4D chess, and I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm completely wrong. I hope that my insane conspiracy theory is so off base that it's madness, right? But in order for that to be true, that is madness. We are going to have to see serious, no slaps on the wrist or fucking, well, you know, because we're going to have to see serious consequences for this shit. If you've got the director of national intelligence up there on TV, on the news, talking about Obama committed treason, then there better be some fucking serious consequences for that treason, and it better come quickly, right? Better come quickly, or it's over. And that's why I don't think the Trump administration was wise to release any of this, because they don't know for sure if they're going to be able to nail these people to the wall or not. Because I think they're going to walk, just like everybody else has. Hillary Clinton, crimes, walks. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of people lie to Congress about all kinds of important shit. These are crimes. They walk. They don't even get prosecuted. They don't even get pursued. So why would I think that now all of a sudden we're going to see Obama getting perp walked somewhere? No fucking way. Again, I hope I'm wrong. But I think the Trump administration just made a huge mistake by doing this. Because what you're doing is you're giving red meat to the base to take their attention away from Epstein, and now the people are like, okay, we'll forget about Epstein, but let's see some Obama handcuffs coming right now. That's all they did. You know, nobody's really talking about Russiagate anymore. Now they bring that up. Boy, this is risky. I think this is riskier than the bombing shit on Iran. You know what I mean? He could have probably talked himself out of that shit if it went south. There's no talking your way out of this shit if they don't do anything against all of these people that were involved in this conspiracy against a sitting president of the United States, elected by the people for the people, under the guise that they keep trying to sell you. Ah, man. Let's hope I'm wrong. That's it. This was the Insanity Report for Thursday, the 24th of July, 2025. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, people, take it easy.